When you're ready.
Adaptation mechanisms in humans and animals. Whether by human intervention or natural occurrence, changes to the environment consequently cause organisms to adapt. As a question stemming from this fact, I researched how adaptation mechanisms differ between humans and animals. The stimulus materials that contributed to the formation of my topic are urban evolution, how species adapt to survive in cities, and in their own words, resilience among Haitian survivors of the 2010 earthquake. The urban evolution article brings an understanding of how species are responding to the ongoing urbanization of the planet through evolutionary changes. Whereas in the report of the Haitian article, it overviews the various coping strategies of the survivors, which included relying on faith, seeking support from family and friends, and engaging in productive activities to rebuild their lives. The connection I pulled between these two articles was their discussion on adaptation. While their subjects differ in many ways, this allowed me to compare and contrast opposing behaviors between my areas of focus, humans and animals. Additionally, I focus on the environmental and scientific perspectives in researching the topic. Through my research, I was able to conclude that the general trend in which humans and animals react to changes in their environment is animals show adaptations biologically and with instincts, whereas humans adapt through means such as resilience and technological advancements. While many of these adaptation mechanisms are natural and service benefits to those it concerns, some are due to unnatural circumstances. This includes factors brought along by humans, such as the destruction of habitats, pollution, and industrialization, which has released large amounts of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, making climate change a concern as well. To reduce these destructive measures, my proposed solution first includes habitat conservation and restoration efforts. Additionally, it would be best to use our technological advancements for good by choosing sustainable and eco-friendly options. Moreover, reducing greenhouse gas emissions and transitioning to renewable energy can improve climate change. While these may not be the only solutions, or even easy to accomplish, they could help improve the complex issue at hand. Later, I will also be discussing the limitations associated with my solution. Now I will go through my evidence and line of reasoning, which will include aspects from both the environmental lens and the scientific lens. Narrowing down my research, I decided to go off of adaptations that specifically happen due to changes in the environment. These changes include both ones happening by natural occurrence and human intervention. While I briefly touch on some of the human-induced changes, examples of natural occurrences are earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, and wildfires, which are all a natural part of the Earth's cycle. In Figure 1, you can see a depiction of one of these natural disasters. There are also other ones such as sea level change and erosion. One case of a natural disaster is the January 12, 2010 earthquake that struck Haiti. To determine how these people were able to adapt and overcome this hardship is an article written by various graduates of the University of South Florida. As mentioned in my stimuli, this source uses resilience as a measure of the Haitian success in rebuilding their lives. While the definition of resilience is up for debate, here it states that is the power or ability to return to the original form, position, after being bent, compressed, or stretched. Throughout the text, it becomes clear that this phenomenon is a multifaceted one. With the help of personal interviews with 29 survivors, the researchers were able to conclude that through having a sense of purpose, being resourceful, and feeling a sense of community, people can cope with traumatic events. Although it may thought to be so, resilience is not unique to humans, but is a common feature in many species. For example, animals that live in harsh and unpredictable environments often display resilient behavior. However, this looks different in animals as compared to humans. This can be explained by Arctic foxes who have thick fur that changes color from brown to white in the winter, allowing them to blend in with their surroundings and avoid predators. This all points towards the fact that people react in ways unique to animals. This is due in part to the fact that humans have a more complex and diverse set of coping mechanisms compared to animals. Humans can use cognitive and emotional responses to cope with stress and trauma, whereas animals rely more on instinctual responses, or in the case of the Arctic fox, its very nature. The fox does not act off instincts, but instead, this change of color happens biologically when it turns to summer and the coat is shed for one that is thinner and brown. More on the topic of unique human adaptations is their use of technology. Since the natural disasters are inevitable, people have devised creative ways to make the impact less devastating. The first is with early warning systems, which can detect the onset of natural disasters and give people time to evacuate for whatever is to come. This can be with the construction of buildings, for example, earthquake-resistant structures which use base isolation systems that separate the design from the ground to withstand the impact of an earthquake. While this is not possible for animals, what is are various evolutionary changes. As they typically have shorter generation times, larger populations, and higher rates of genetic variation, this happens more commonly amongst animals. One such example is that of the peppered moth, which before the Industrial Revolution was mainly found to have a light, speckled pattern as seen in Figure 1. However, as the coal-fired factories and power plants began releasing large amounts of soot and other pollutants into the air, natural selection favored the darker varieties. This is the subject in Eric Bender's Urban Evolution article, another one of my stimulus materials. This is not only evident for moths, but he states that brown rats in New York City may be evolving to have smaller rows of teeth, and tiny fish across the eastern U.S. have adapted to thrive in polluted urban waters. This is all evidence that proves animals can react through evolution. The limitations with my solution is that it would be difficult to enforce, and even if it were to be enforced, it would not revert the traumas that humans and animals have endured. The least it could do would be improving climate change and slowing down the adaptations caused by unnatural circumstances.
Thank you. Round of applause. What evidence did you gather that you didn't include, and why did you decide not to include it?
I didn't include what I found on human evolution, as I wanted to focus on adaptations that are present today, and many of the evolutionary changes in humans have happened over millions of years, but I wanted to reduce the scope more to today's terms.
Okay, thank you. How is your conclusion, how is your conclusion in conversation with the body of literature and other research sources you examined?
The literature of the stimulus materials weren't the only sources I examined. I chose to go further in researching a potential solution and other human and animal adaptations not included in the articles. And I formed my question on these, but I found further information that were productive in devising a claim and evidence through other reliable sources.
Okay, thank you. Another round of applause.